Primal fears are crazy. Makes me wonder how Fami came up on the Falling Devil. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that has been very apparent even from the moment we met the Darkness Devil all the way back in part 1, right? Like, the primal fears are devils that are just incomprehensible. We can't even begin to understand them. I figure they're just Fujimoto's interpretations of eldritch horrors, like things like H.P. Lovecraft and like Cthulhu and like all of his different gods that he talks about. These gods that are so just in shapes that man can't even conceive in their brain, and that like just viewing them in a sense, and it makes you feel so minuscule in the universe that you go insane. And not because they have like some kind of crazy aura or energy that like is affecting your mind. Some of them might, but in reference to what I'm particularly speaking about, like, you just go mad from just seeing and understanding that you are this small, like an ant, to a being that just could stomp on you accidentally and your whole entire existence would fade away and be nothing left. Like, the Darkness Devil was an insane representation of that during part 1, just manhandling so many of top tier hunters. I mean, you've got Quan Chi in there, you've got Aki, who's maybe not the highest tier but still pretty strong. And you've got multiple hybrid devils in there. Power was traumatized for almost like, what, half a year? Denji literally had to like take showers with her and everything because she was so terrified to be alone. Just meeting a being like this was an event that one will never forget, and they'll be able to remember vividly for the rest of their lives. And then, Tiberius, you bring up a really good point with the Falling Devil. The Falling Devil was, when I don't know if this was the full incarnation of the Falling Devil, right? I think this was only a minuscule amount of its power. Primal Fears are still so OP. I don't see how Chainsaw Man and War are going to be able to defeat the Death Devil, who's way stronger. The Aging Devil literally created an entire separate dimension. Creating an entire separate dimension is pretty insane. Like, the fact that the Aging Devil, not even like that he created a parallel dimension, but like he was just a dick about it. He goes, yeah, oh, bang. He goes, okay, here you are in the mirror world, which it makes sense that, I don't know what the Aging Devil's connection is to mirrors. Maybe it's the exact thing that we see from that guy where he's like, oh, I looked at a mirror and all of a sudden I felt myself getting older and I wish that I was younger and I found myself here. You know, it's even an eldritch horror like the Aging Devil can sneak through things like mirrors to do their bidding, which is like something you would never even expect. And again, I'm not sure if this was the full power of the Falling Devil, but even the Falling Devil was able to almost massacre, again, an entire city with no problem at all. But yeah, I mean, the Primal Fears are some of the most devastating beings in the entire world, and I think we can confirm that. I don't think, as you said, you know, oh, like, I think the Four Horsemen and the Chainsaw Man are at their very weakest. After aging is done, we're going to deal with some crazy shit, which is insane to say. The Four Horsemen are at a level where they were all able to fight Chainsaw Man. Is scary is just how much stronger the Primal Fears are compared to the Four Horsemen. And don't get me wrong, the Four Horsemen are world-ending threats, or at the very least, almost country-ending threats themselves. Like, we have to remember, Makima versus the Gun Devil literally took place between Japan and United States of America in, like, what, the span of 8 seconds? 5 seconds? Makima using literally all of her devil powers that she had used to control with, and sent that over a large portion of the area. Like, we're fighting country to country here. Four Horsemen are the ones who beat to the point he became a dog. I would say Pochida's the one that who lost. I mean, Pochida didn't die, right? And also, War was in a very tough spot. Makima became a dog of public safety. We don't know exactly what happened to Famine, but Famine doesn't exactly seem like they're in their craziest state either. I would go as far as to say is like I kind of ended in a stalemate. Yoru stated she killed Pochita multiple times in the past. I don't think Chainsaw Man, I don't think Chainsaw Man has ever died. I think the closest they've gotten was the dog form that Pochita was reduced to, but I don't believe Yoru killed Pochita many times, unless maybe remind me of that happening. Maybe I'm wrong. putting an image up on screen. Hold on. So I don't need to get a copyright strike. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. I can't believe I got saved by Chainsaw Man. I fought him long ago, but Chainsaw Man gets back up no matter how many times you kill him, so I lost to him. But I don't know. I would imagine that's metaphorically, like, kill him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure, yeah, Pochita has died, but if he gets right back up, I would argue that's not necessarily dead. Next thing I knew, he'd eaten from my body, weakening me. He's the reason there hasn't been a single war since the World War W. Pochita, let's go. I mean, there definitely have been wars, but maybe not in the Chainsaw Man. Maybe not in the Chainsaw Man universe. When Chainsaw Man says died, they count every fatal injury regardless of revival. See, yes, okay, that makes sense. Okay, I'm willing to believe that. But okay, you were right, Bird Blender. You were right, 110%. It's just not necessarily killed in the same way, you know, we would refer to it. But yeah, here's the panel specifically that I found. Chainsaw Man gets back up no matter how many times you kill him, so I lost to him. Next thing I knew, he'd eaten from my body. Yeah, okay. Either way, it just speaks more to just how ridiculously powerful that the Four Horsemen and Pochita are at their level, right? I mean, Pochita is definitely stronger than most of them. The fact that he was able to fight, what, all of them at once, whether the Death Devil was involved or not. If the chainsaw is the weapon of the Death Devil, that would be interesting. That definitely would be an interesting twist. We don't know much about the Death Devil, but we know that they are... I would necessarily imagine that not only are they the eldest sister of the Four Horsemen, so they're the strongest of the Four Horsemen, but I would imagine the Death Devil is also a primal fear for sure. These are all fan arts, of course. None of these are the real Death Devil, but I'm interested to see what the Death Devil ends up looking like or being, and if they're also a very similar eldritch horror, because all the primal fears are literally put together by, like, just human body parts. Literally every single one of them. The Aging Devil was, Darkness Devil was there... Oh no. The 4 primal fears, true. They have all never died. That's why they're so powerful. They've been in hell for so long. They've never been reborn. Not once, not never. Which I would imagine death is probably the most... You want to talk about primal, the most primal fear of all. Every human... since the dawn of time is afraid of death. You could argue and fight with it as much as you want and act like you accept it, but no. Definitely death is not only inevitable, it is the great equalizer, but it is the very first and original fear, I would argue. I'm surprised things like fire and water aren't, like, you know, primal fears. Death Devil, sure, it's a cute girl. Knowing Fujimoto, I would even argue that being the great equalizer, the great beyond, all devils come from the Death Devil. I would even say that that's not far-fetched. You know, maybe I'm getting too headcanon-y here for people to appreciate, but fire's pretty OP. It might be a primal fear. It was able to turn thousands of Chainsaw Church members into zombies or other devils without even directly interacting and just making a contract. It makes sense that would be, since all living things naturally fear fire. That's what I was kind of thinking, right? I was thinking fire should be a pretty strong fucking devil. And we haven't necessarily seen the fire devil either. So yeah, you know what? Fire may even be a primal fear as well. They just haven't shown themselves yet. Public safety, working with all these primal fears, has fully solidified to me that they are just terrible people. There's no way, shape, or form public safety is doing good for humanity. It just doesn't make sense. And also, how crazy would it be if the Fire Devil was Fire Punch? That would be fucking dope. A primal fear should be something you're born fearing. You have to touch the stove to learn to fear fire. I guess that's true. I guess that's true. But it depends, right? Because you could argue that we have been conditioned in our later years of society to not really fear fire as much. Like, maybe, again, what the fuck do I know? I wasn't in caveman times, but I've even seen whole things of like, oh, cavemen were immediately afraid of fire because it's just something they weren't afraid of. And I guess that's also a good point. Kids aren't born fearing death either. That's the fear of death is definitely a learned fear as well. I see what you're saying, though. It should be a fear that is able to originate as early as infancy, you know? It's a fear that should be more instinctual rather than something you have to think about and turn into a fear yourself, you know? Like, for example, like, I am fucking, a little bit about me, I fucking can't stand bees. Can't stand bees. Hate bees more than anything in the world. But most people don't give a fuck about bees, you know what I mean? Like, that's definitely a learned fear of mine, and I've had a traumatic experience with bees when I was younger, so that's what makes me afraid of bees. And it's not even really a traumatic experience, just a moment when I was a kid and very scared, and since then it's kept with me. But you know what? Like, there is a bee devil, but not everyone fears bees, so that's why it's not that strong. It's a strong devil because plenty of people do fear bees, but not the whole world. Whereas things like darkness, things like falling, things like aging, they're universal fears. They're fears that are more, again, instinctual. They're ingrained in us as not just a society, but as humanity, as the human race. You don't need to learn fear of darkness. Your body will fear the darkness in and of itself. You don't you could argue you might need to touch fire and feel that it's hot and burn yourself to, you know, fear fire, but you could also just fear fire in general if you've never seen fire before and you're like, holy shit, this thing is crazy. What the fuck is that? And there's also the unknown, you know, people fear just the unknown in general. I would imagine even like the unknown devil, who knows what the fuck that would be, but that could even be a primal fear. But yeah, loud noises could definitely be something. You know, the fear of heights, which I would even argue that's the falling devil. The crackhead devil is going to be the most powerful fear in the series. Yo, you're not wrong, bro. I remember there was a good amount of time that me and my girlfriend, we would get high and we would watch fucking dumbest criminal videos. I remember there was one compilation, bro, where, oh my god, like, there was this crackhead and he was literally like skirting his butt across the floor, like making the weirdest noises in the fucking world. And I shit you not, I had a nightmare that very night, getting attacked by fucking crackheads, bro. That sat with me. That did something to my brain watching that happen in real time. I was like, what? So yes, I would back that. The crackhead devil is definitely a powerful devil. But yeah, primal fears are no joke. Maybe the unknown is Cosmo. Could be. Good point. The bear devil. Yeah. Big time.